started. Yeah. Okay, so what we're doing right now is we are going over the final review and just looking for participation. I need you guys to write all this down. If you're here, you're taking notes. Maybe you can't draw the pictures, and if you printed it, that's awesome. If you weren't able to print it, at least, you know, writing down the equations, what you can do. Not requiring you to draw every picture, but it would help. But if you at least have the notes when you go back to do the final, it'll really help. Okay. And the final may be mostly multiple choice, if not all of it. So we'll see. All right, so let's get started. So I even put what kind of problem it is. Like the first one is a segment addition, means add the segments together. So this plus this is going to equal that. And there's your equation. So let's go ahead and write that down. X plus 10 plus X plus 8 equals 12. Go ahead and solve. This time I am going to have you put your answer in the chat box. I'm going to give you just a couple seconds to do that. We will get another a negative score, not score, a negative number. Good. Good. So far, everybody has the right answers. That's awesome. Okay. And that answer is -3. Good. So let me go ahead and finish that. So 2x plus 18 equals 12. Subtracting 18 on both sides. 2x equals -6. Dividing by 2, x equals -3. Okay. Same idea for the next one. The next one's a little more complicated because it is dealing with the angles. So angle RSF is 20. So let's label it. FST is 65 x minus 1. And then RST, which is the whole thing, is 74x plus 1. Okay, so again, we have our angle addition, which means this angle plus this angle is equal to that angle. So 20 plus 65x minus 1 is equal to 74x plus 1. Go ahead and solve it. 65x plus 19 was 64x plus 1. Subtracting 65x on both sides, we get 19 is equal to 9x plus 1. Good. Subtracting 1 on both sides, we get 18 equals 9x. And some of you have already put it in the chat box. Divided by 9, we get 2 equals x. And you're done. Okay, but see how important it was to actually label the picture, because it's a little hard to do it from here, but it's a lot easier to do it from the picture. Okay. If I go too fast, it might be a good idea to have your phone handy and take a picture of what we're doing, so that if you miss some of it, you can go back and look at it. Okay. So here we're finding the measure of the angle B, or x. So we need to solve for B, and we need to solve, oh, there's no x. There's x. So what does that box mean?
It's
It's
a
a
90
right angle.
Right, it's a right angle and it equals 90. So together, these equal 90, because that's what the box means. That's what the box means, equals 90. Okay, so we know that B plus 25 has to equal 90. And a lot of you could probably do that in your head. And so subtracting 25 on both sides, we get B equals what?
75.
65.
65. Good. Yeah, awesome. Perfect. And so this one's a little different because it doesn't have a box, but it does make a straight line. Straight line. What does a straight line have to equal?
180 degrees.
Good. So this has to equal 180 degrees. So very similar to the last one. We would say B plus 55 is equal to 180. And we would subtract 55 on both sides. Okay, and B is equal to 125. Good. Yep. And I see that in the chat box as well. Questions on those? Way back to trimester 1, basic geometry, that we were learning. What does it mean to, for the postulates, adding things together?
Ms. Richardson?
Can you
Yes.
scoot over to the other one a little bit? Number
Yes.
3.
Yes.
Yeah. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Are we turning these in?
Yes, you are. This is assignment number 39.
All right, thank you.
Uh-huh.
Have you posted the assignment already?
Yes, I did. Yesterday at 3 o'clock.
All right, thank you.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, if you guys could bring it up, that would be awesome. But make sure you're at least writing down the formulas, how to do it, why. Okay. The things that'll be important for you to, and this is all you need to review for the final. You will not need to have anything else except this. I wanted to make it very simple, but these are the highlights for like the semester of geometry. Okay, it's not everything, but it is a good representation of like the highlights. Okay, but you need to know, what does it mean to be complementary? So this is complementary. Complementary when it equals 90. Two angles equal 90. This is supplementary. Supplementary when it equals 180. It's a straight angle. So this is a straight angle. When it equals 180, this is a right angle when it equals 90. This is also when it's perpendicular. Okay, so going on. What kind of angles are these when they make an X and they're opposite from each other?
Vertical angles.
Vertical angles.
Nice. Vertical angles. Awesome. Vertical angles. And what do we know about vertical angles? They're what?
Equal to each other.
Equal.
Good. They are equal. Always equal. Okay. That means that's our equation. We're going to set those equal to each other. So 59 is equal to 4x plus 3. And we continue to solve. Okay, so subtracting 3 on both sides, we get 56 equals 4x. And dividing both sides by 4, we get x equals 14. So vertical angles are always equal. So as you're writing this down, be sure to put the little notes that we're doing with it. Okay. Do that. I'm not sure why I have a shadow. Why do I have a shadow? Oh well. Okay, so the next one we're looking at parallel lines. So this is the parallel line section. Parallel lines. And we had these different kind of angles. We had alternate interior angles, with corresponding angles, and the same side interior angles. If you'll remember, alternate interior angles are always equal. Corresponding angles are always equal. But the same side interior angles is equal to 180. Okay. And of course, vertical doesn't have to be like parallel lines, but those are also equal. Okay. So if you look at this, guys, honestly, you've got a 75% chance of getting the problem right if you just set them equal to each other. Okay. On the off chance that it was same side interior and you didn't get it, you'd only miss one. I mean, like 1 out of 4. Okay, so if you do nothing else, it's kind of like when a teacher said, well, if you don't know the answer, guess C, on a multiple choice test. It's kind of the same thing. If you don't know what to do, set them equal to each other. But if you do know what you're doing, then you can get them all right. But in this case, you can get 75% right. Okay, so let's identify which ones they are. Remember, this is my transversal. Okay, these are my parallel lines. When it's in between, it's going to be an interior angle. And when it jumps over, that's what we call an alternate. So this is an alternate interior angle. Okay. I know that alternate interior angles are what?
Equal.
Equal. Okay. So these will be equal. So we know that we'll just call it X. So X is equal to 107. So they're the same. Okay. Number 7. Anybody remember what kind of angle that is?
Corresponding.
Corresponding. Good. Same location. Top right, top right. So I'm going to write top right, top right. Okay, so that just means they're in the same location, which means they are corresponding angles, which also means they are equal. So X would equal 98 degrees. Okay. Over here, noticing that this is my transversal. This is my interior. So we have interior. This is on the same side. So let me do this. If I just cross out that like that, this is on the same side of my transversal. This is what they call same side. And we know same side interior angles are what?
180 degrees.
Good. They equal 180 degrees. So X plus 95 is equal to 180 degrees. And if you subtract 95 from both sides, you get X is equal to 85. Sorry, move that. Questions on that one? The difference between number 6 and number 8 is over here. I couldn't cross out one whole side like I did here. If I cross this whole side out, then it's going to be on the same side. Okay. How about number 9? What kind of angle is that?
Vertical.
Good, vertical. So these are vertical angles. And we know that they are equal. So we would say that 4x is equal to 72. And dividing both sides by 4, x is equal to 1, 18 times. Okay. And give it people a minute to catch up. Would anyone like me to zoom out so you can take a picture of the whole page? I did actually have a couple of yeses in the chat box. Let me do that. Okay. Okay. So people want to take a picture of that. It's kind of nice to see the different colors, so it's differentiated there. I can even use my highlighters. Okay, good. Page 2. Okay, so this is going to a problem that a lot of my students struggled with. That's the mid segment. What do these tick marks mean?
They're equal to each other?
So I know that this part is equal to that part. So I know that SY, the distance between S and Y, is going to be equal to the distance from Y to R. Okay. I also know that the distance from S to Z is going to equal the distance from Z to T. No problem. Okay. However, does it, I know that we can never go by looks. Okay, in geometry, that's like assuming something which we never ever do. But just by the sheer fact that they don't have a tick mark, they're not going to be equal. Okay, they are not going to be equal. They do not have a tick mark. But which do you think is smaller, the X or the X plus 5?
The X.
The X, okay? So this YZ is going to be smaller than RT. And this is what we were talking about originally. It's kind of like those little fun size candy bars where it's going to take 2 of these to make 1 of those. Okay. So it's going to take 2 of the middles to equal the end. Okay. So in this case, it's going to take 2 times my YZ, which is the middle, to equal my RT. They're not, these are not equal to each other. Only the edges are going to be equal because they have tick marks. Somebody else came in here. Sorry, put another person in. Okay, so if it takes 2 of those, that means 2 times my X is going to equal my X plus 5. So 2X is equal to X plus 5. And I can subtract X on both sides. And we're left with X equals 5. Okay. I know that was a lot of explanation, but for those that have missed some of this along the way, I want you to have the understanding that if this is the midpoint on each side, the sides are equal, just the tick marks. However, the middle takes 2 of the middles to equal the end. Questions on that?
Yeah, where did the 2x come from? I didn't catch that.
Oh, because I took two of my middles and the middle value is X.
Oh.
That's the YZ distance. The YZ, the distance from Y to Z, which is my middle, is X.
Is that a formula right there or no?
The formula is the top one.
Oh, okay. I got that
Okay.
down.
Yeah. So whatever the middle is, the mid segment, it takes two of those to equal the end. Just like two of my little fun size candy bars to equal a regular size candy bar. That's what that is.
Oh,
That
okay.
better?
Yeah, I got it.
Okay. Any other questions? I appreciate those. Okay. Moving on to something that's a little more familiar, which is our Pythagorean theorem. Okay. The first thing we need to do is identify the hypotenuse. So our formula, okay, a squared plus b squared equals c squared. Where c is always, where do I find c?
Across from the right angle.
Perfect. Across from the right angle. So it would be in your best interest if you can't easily identify that, or you're missing it even half the time, or if the triangles are rotated on you, draw the arrow across from the right angle, and that is C. Okay. Over here, draw your arrow across from the right angle. Your 11 is C. And C is not always a number, as we'll find it here. Across from the right angle is X. That's my C. Across from the right angle on 14, that's an X. That's my C. Okay. So X is not always C and C is not always a number. So now we can fill in our formulas because the other two numbers are going to be A and B. So here we would write 6 squared plus X squared is equal to 16 squared. So what's 6 squared?
36.
36. So 36 plus X squared is equal to 256. To get the X squared by itself, we have to subtract 36 on both sides. So X squared is equal to 220. Do you remember how to undo a square?
Square root it.
Square root it. Nice. Okay, so we're going to square root both sides. And what I'd probably do right here is I'd come over off to the side and I would break it down. So 220, I see a 10 that goes into it because it ends in a 0. You could have done a 2, you could have done a 5. I'm just going to see a 10. So 22 times 10. Okay. 22 is 2 times 11. And then 10 is 2 times 5. So you can break it down however you see it. No decimals. No decimals. If this is multiple choice, you will not see a decimal. Are there any pairs?
The
The
two.
twos.
Pair of twos. Good. So the pair of twos that goes on the outside. So the 2 on the outside and my leftovers go back inside and multiply them together, and I have 55. So that becomes my answer. X is equal to 2 root 55. If it's multiple choice, you will not see a root 220 because that is not simplified. Okay. Questions on that? Okay. Number 12. Actually, I'm going to go up just so people can keep, writing if they need to. Looking at 13, we'll do 12 and 14 in a second. Okay, so if X is my C, I've got 8 squared plus 14 squared is equal to C squared. Oops, that should have been an X. Let's do X. Let's do X. Okay. You can leave it as C. It doesn't matter. But okay. So 8 squared is 64 plus 196 is equal to X squared. Now notice that numbers are both on the left side, so I get to add those together. I don't need to subtract anything to the other side because I'm not trying to get my X by itself. It's already by itself. So when I add those together, I get 260 is equal to X squared. And again, we're going to square root both sides. And I'll come over here and I'll break it down. So the square root of 260. Again, I see a 10 in there. So 26 times 10. Okay, so this is 13 times 2. And this is 2 times 5. Okay, 13 is prime. Those are all prime numbers. I can't break them down anymore. So I do have a pair of 2's again. Very similar to the last one. So I have a 2 on the outside. And then I multiply my 13 times 5 back together. I have 65. So this would give me 2 root 65 is equal to X. I want you to have enough detail to where you could do this again on a quiz, your final being your quiz. If you are even just a little like shaky on it, okay? You're not quite solid. Questions on that one? Okay. Let's look at number 12. Same idea. Now my C is 11. So I've got 9 squared plus X squared equals 11 squared. Okay. Go ahead and work it out. Put your answer in the chat box. And you can write number, root, whatever, because you probably don't have a square root in your chat box. Good. Oh, so if you have like 5 square root of 20 or 5 square root of 3, you'd write 5 root 3. So yeah, you're just writing the final answer. Okay, a few people have it in the chat box and they're correct. A few more. This is the time for you to find out if you know how to do this. Okay, good. Nice. A few more. Nice. Yes, Leslie, that's correct. How can you guys have question marks next to it? I got an answer, but I'm not real sure. That's awesome. Okay. There's 26 of you. Okay, that last one was close, but not quite. Okay, so let's go ahead and do it together. So 81, 9 squared is 81, plus X squared is equal to 121. Okay, subtracting 81 on both sides. So X squared is equal to 40. And if you got that far, you're doing great. Okay, so over here, we're gonna do our square roots. So come over here and go 40 square roots. Over here. This is gonna give me 4 times 10. Okay, and this is 2 times 2, then 2 times 5. Okay. So if you're looking at pairs, if you broke it down this far, some of you may have went from here and said that square root of 4 is 2, and then you would have had 2 root 10. If you broke it down, I have a pair of 2's, so that comes outside, and my leftover is a 2 and a 5, so that would be 10. So if you had 4 root 5, I know where you got it, you know, because you had an extra 2 and then a leftover 5. So you're really close, but the answer is 2 root 10. Okay, good. Let's do number 14, same idea. My C is X. Okay, that means this is A and B, or B and A, doesn't matter. The 9 squared plus 5 squared is equal to X squared. Okay. Try that one, put the answer in the chat box. Okay. Good. You probably, or you should get a number that breaks down into 2 prime numbers, so you cannot, there's no pairs. Good. So you just leave it as root whatever. Now you might be trying to figure out what goes into that. Okay, don't forget, it's an even number, so you can always do 2. But the other number you get is prime. Okay, so this is 81 plus 25 equals X squared. Okay. So when we add these together, we get 106, which is equal to X squared. However, when you take the square root, 106 breaks down to 2 times 53. It's not that the 106 is prime, it's that it breaks into 2 prime numbers. It's kind of like the number 10, which is 2 times 5. You can't break it down anymore. There's no pairs. So we would simply leave this as square root of 106 is equal to X. It's a little tricky. Okay. Anybody still writing on those two? Okay. The next section is a 4-sided figure. And if I don't know if you remember or not, but the measurement of the angles of a 4-sided figure, 4 sides have to equal. Anybody remember? What do all my angles have to add up to be?
360.
Good, 360. Okay. 360 degrees. Okay, on the inside. So 4 sides means 4 angles. So they have to add up to be 360 degrees. If you can remember that 3 angles is equal to 180, each time you add an angle to it, you're going to add another 180. So 4 angles equals 360. 5 angles is equal to 540. 6 angles will be 720, and so on. Okay. So if you don't remember, whatever reason you don't have this with you, so always remember the basis of your angles is a triangle, and then each one you can add to it. Okay, so I know that if I call this X, the 85 plus 105 plus 65 plus X has to equal 360. A couple people already put in the chat box. That's good. We've got 190, 255, okay, plus X is equal to 360. And subtracting to 255 on both sides, yeah, you get 105. And it won't always equal what one of the other angles equals, okay? So that's just kind of a coincidence. So don't go by, oh yeah, it's opposite. See, these are opposites and they didn't equal each other, okay? So this is not the one that opposites are equal. Not the one that opposites are equal. Okay? Try number 16. Same idea. Same idea. 4 angles equal 360. Okay, solve for X. Okay, good. A couple of people have it in the chat box. Nice. So far, so good. Nice. Interesting. Everybody chats to me except one. Huh. Okay. Okay. So I can figure that one out. Okay, so when we add these together, I get 200 here, 270. X plus 270 equals 360. So if I subtract 270, I get X equals 90. Okay, good. And then the last one on this page, okay, same idea, but what does the box mean?
90 degrees.
90 degrees. So if you need to, you can write it in, and then we're gonna do the same thing. It just happens to have an expression here. So do the same thing. Write the equation. Okay. If you in your chat, if it goes to, if you're able to do to everyone, if you could make it to me instead of to everyone, that would be better. There's like 3 people that have to everyone. So writing the equations, we got 90 plus 80 plus 110 plus 14x minus 4 equals 360. Okay. And combining these right here, it gives me 280 plus 14x minus 4. And I combine these, it's just an extra step. I wanted you to see I was adding the 3 angles and then that. Okay. Plus 14x is equal to 360. Okay. Subtracting the 276, you get 14x is equal to 84. So if you got 21, I think you probably forgot your 1 on the 4. So dividing both sides by 14, I get x equals 6. It is super easy to add wrong on something like this. When you've got 4 or 5 numbers like this. Oh, yeah. Yeah, it's important. That's why we're doing these together. I want you to have the ability to say, I know what I need to do. Okay. Questions on any of those? At this point, you know, you're either tracking with us or you're not. This is your last chance to get it. I can't control if you logged in and walked away, but this is what we're doing because I want you to be successful on this last effort. Okay?
Can I see
Yes.
problem 15, like the side notations that you took?
Oh, yes.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Remembering that the number of sides is also the number of angles. Okay. When you're done, say done.
I took a
Done.
picture so I can just copy off of it. So thank you.
Oh, that's fine. Okay. Anybody else? Okay. Awesome. Page 3. You're making really good progress. Probably won't get it all done today. I didn't expect to. That's why I wanted 2 days to do this. Okay. So now we have parallelograms. This is super important. We have a parallelogram. So all of the properties that we know, 5 properties, are true, but we don't need all 5. Okay. We know that the opposite sides are what?
Equal.
Equal. They are parallel and they are equal. So opposite sides are equal. That's what we need for this problem. So we just set them equal to each other. What do we get?
11 or x equals 11.
Yep. So 2x is equal to 22. And dividing by 2, we get x equals 11. And yes, there really are some problems that easy. Okay. Not supposed to be super hard all the time. Okay. Same idea on number 20. These are parallel, but they are also equal. So we know that 4x plus 3 is equal to 15. What's x?
Three.
Yep. Subtracting 3 on both sides, we get 4x equals 12. And dividing by 4, we get x equals 3. Okay. Questions on those? Okay. 19 and 20, we're dealing with the angles. just like we did with the quiz that some of you haven't taken yet, that last quiz, assignment number 38. So we know that opposite angles are equal. The other angles equal 180. So opposite angles are equal. The others equal 180. So if you'll remember, what I suggested is that you find an angle and you draw a line opposite. So finding an angle like 115. Draw a line opposite. So are those going to be equal or equal to 180?
Equal.
Equal. Good. Because this is an opposite. So yes, they're going to be equal. So I have 16x plus 3 is equal to 115. If you don't understand where the opposite is, then you're not going to get this problem. You do have a 50-50 chance, however. Okay? So subtracting 3 on both sides, we get 16x is equal to 112. Dividing by 16, we get x equals 7. Questions on that one? Anything that I can clarify? How many are feeling pretty good about this? Give me a yes or no in the chat box. Just give me a yes or no in the chat box. Okay. Okay. I've got a kind of, a sort of, and a no, and a whole bunch of yeses. Okay. And I'm not saying that the kind of and sort ofs are wrong, but I'm hoping that as you're writing this down and you're taking it in, you're going to go back and you're going to look over this a whole bunch of times to make sure that you can do every single problem again if you needed to. And that's one thing I'd really encourage you to do is, yes, we're going to work this out together, but then if you really want to do well and you want to study for this, like I hope you do, I would suggest that you get a brand new blank copy, or, you know, looking at it from the screen, and rework the problems. See if you get the same answers. And then, you know, you'll know if you've got it or not. Okay. So good. Okay, so on number 21, if this is my angle, this would be my opposite. Okay, that would be an opposite. So is it an opposite or another?
Another.
It's an other. Okay, so that means that these together have to equal 180. So we know that 22x plus 136 is equal to 180. Like that, just because we got too close to that 180. Okay. Okay, so subtracting 136 on both sides, 22x is equal to 44. So x is what, guys? You put it in the chat box. X equals 2. Okay. Yeah, let's see if we can't finish up the trapezoids at least today. Okay, number 22. We did this recently, like yesterday, looking at our formula. That is the formula. Oh, nice. So I'm looking for M. M always goes on the left side. So M is equal to 1/2 B1 plus B2. And if we fill in those numbers, M is equal to 1/2. What's my B1 and B2?
42 and 24.
42 and 24. And it really doesn't matter which one you put first because we're just adding them together. So M is equal to 1/2 of 66. And what's half of 66?
33.
33. And you're done. Okay. So go ahead and solve 23. I know many of you can look at that and tell me what the number would be. But I really do need you to be able to put it into the formula. So M is equal to 1/2 of, work it out. Good. We're putting in the chat box. Okay. So 7 plus 11, 7 plus 11. So M is equal to 1/2 of 18, which is indeed 9. And you're done. Okay. Good. So number 24 and 25 uses the same exact formula like we were doing yesterday. This time we're going to use it in reverse. So M is equal to 1/2 B1 plus B2. And filling it in, this time we know that our M is 19. And it always goes on the left. So 19 is equal to 1/2 B1 plus 28. Okay. Do I need to multiply both sides by 2?
Yes.
Yes, because the variable is inside the parentheses. I do need to multiply both sides by 2 to get rid of the 1/2. So that makes these cancel. So I have 38 is equal to B plus 28. And subtracting both sides 28, you get 10 equals B. If you really want to check yourself on a quiz test, you can say, if this is 10, 10 plus 28 is 38, divided by 2 is 19. Or you can say 28 minus 19 is 9. And then 10, 19 minus 10 is also 9. Okay. So they have to be equidistant because it's a mid segment. Hopefully you might be able to visually tell me what 25 is. If you can, put it in the chat box right now. If you can tell me visually what number 25 is. Good. There's a few people. Nice. Good. And if not, that's okay too, because not everybody's there, and that's fine. Okay, so we're gonna call this X or B, whichever one you want. So this is my M in the middle. I'm gonna plug it into the formula. Okay, so M is equal to 1/2 B1 plus B2. You don't have to keep writing the formula. I do that because I want you to see exactly what I'm doing. So my M is 14 is equal to 1/2. I called that X and then plus 10. And because we have to multiply both sides by 2, we get 28 is equal to X plus 10. And then subtracting 10 on both sides, get 18 equals X. So if you said 18, you were correct. Since this is 10 and this is 14, that's going up in value, you would expect that to be bigger than 14. This is a distance of 4. This needs to be a distance of 4. 14 plus 4 is 18. Okay. So there's a couple different ways to work that. Okay. Let's finish these other 2 problems and then we'll call it done for today and we'll pick up with 28 tomorrow. Excuse me. So let's find the square root of 162. All we have to do is simplify, break it down. So what do we see that goes into 162?
Two and 81.
Okay, so we see a 2. Because it's an even number, we can automatically see that 2 goes into it. Okay, so 2 is 81. What goes into 81?
9 times 9.
9. Good, 9 times 9. And right there we see that there's a pair, or you might have saw right here that the square root of 81 is 9, but that's okay. We have a pair of 9s, so that goes outside, and the leftover is 2. Okay, and that would be your answer. Okay, so go ahead and do number 27. And put your answer in the chat box. Good. Good. Nice. Lots of right answers. Super. Nice. Okay. So breaking this down, I see a 10. You could do a 3. You could do a 9. You could do 5. So 9 times 10. Square root of 9 is 3. So you could do it right there. You can go 3 times 3 and 2 times 5. So either way is totally fine. So this would give me a 3 on the outside. And the leftover 2 times 5 is 10. Okay, so yes, it is 3 root 10. And I appreciate you guys' participation on that. Okay. I would really like to see, if you have time tonight, okay, if you've already done the quiz, the last quiz, and you've already done the Rin-Learn test, try the last few problems and see how you do. Okay, the answers are posted, so you can still do those. But there's only a few problems left. We have 28, 29 on that last page, and that page, and then ones that we've done recently. Okay, we did scale factor, find the missing side, and then it goes back to something that we did second trimester, which was similar or congruent triangles. Congruent triangles. Here are the reasons that you can use. So see what you can do. Okay, see what you can do. That was assignment number 19 and 20, the dreaded 19 and 20 that a lot of people couldn't figure out what I was asking for. So, yeah.
How many questions are on that review paper?
41.
Oh, okay.
Can
So
you
there's
get,
not that many left.
oh, for that page, after you're done, can you scroll all the way out so I can take a
Yep.
picture of the
You bet.
page?
Okay, so, yep, because we didn't do 28 and 29, so there you go.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. And